Good morning. Good morning. Okay, one more time, guys. Good morning. All right, that's better. My name is Terry Diamond. I am your host for today's seminar. We have a lot of new people here today. Who's here first time? Raise your hands. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. A couple things before we get started. There's pins. There's your paperwork for this month that goes in your binders. Did every new person get a binder? Okay, I'll bring you a binder in just a minute. In the pack, the top page is your survey. We always know the surveys. I'd like you to fill them out after the seminar. Give me creative feedback. Be brutal. Most important question on there is, would you like a coffee date with me? Okay, it's a no obligation one-on-one coffee date. We can talk about whatever you want. I always say we can talk about my dog, Loki, who you've all seen pictures of. We can talk about the weather. We can talk about you, your trust, your real estate needs, whatever you need to talk about. Or you can just talk and I'll listen. I'm a good listener. So don't forget to fill that out, turn them in to me. At the end of the seminar, I do a $150 gift card. I draw out of all the ones that are turned in, and I give you a $50 gift card for filling them out, so I appreciate it. Before we get started, I want to talk about next month's seminar. I had a gal, she's a regular attendee, Jan, she's not here today. She suggested a topic that I thought was pretty important that I'm considering substituting for next month's seminar. So next month's seminar is on love and relationship in later stages. Not sure what that's all going to be, but I would need to plan it. She suggested a topic on essentially from we to me. How do you cope with being on your own after the loss of a spouse or a partner? And it's going to be more paperwork driven, more procedure driven, not the coping skills, because that will take 6 seminars. But just on what do I do? What papers do I file? What processes do I have to do? So I wanted to ask you guys, who would like love and relationships in later stages? And who would like we to me? Paperwork processes? Okay. So if you would, on your surveys, kind of give me another hint which one you would like, and then I'll decide and publish it when it comes time. So, if you would silence your phones, if you need the restrooms, they're right out the door. And today's goal is to elevate you on the golden road and tips and strategies for staying behind the wheel. Okay, our guest here, Officer Gutierrez, is going to be talking to us about different strategies, different tips, different safety ideas, all to help us stay on the road, because maintaining your independence, how many of that is a high priority? Okay, and that's why you're here today. You want to be able to maintain your independence by keeping your car, but you have to be safe. I'm not here to sell you anything, but I'm going to take a few minutes and tell you about myself, especially for those people that are new. I am a certified senior housing professional. I am one of 7 in California, which means I have specialized training in working with seniors and their families in transitioning from one place to another. Whether it's from your home into a senior living community, whether it's across country to be with your family, whether it's downsizing into a smaller place. I have special training in, really it's the emotional, the physical, the logistical aspects of selling your house, because it's hard. Today's real estate is not easy. So with the extra training and the continuing education that I have, I try to make this process go as smoothly as possible. It's more than a job for me. It's a commitment. It's a commitment to exceptional service and communication in helping you understand the way that we do business and making you feel supported every step of the way. Okay, enough about me. Let's get on with the presentation. I would like to introduce Officer John Gutierrez. He is a public information officer with the California Highway Patrol. Okay, like I said, he's going to discuss the challenges of driving as we age. Together we'll explore practical strategies, tools, and resources to help you navigate the road responsibly and maintain your independence for as long as possible. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up around 12. I know the presentation is a little bit longer than normal, so we'll get you out of here as close to 12 as possible. We'll have time for questions and answers. We'll do our door prizes. We'll talk about all sorts of good things. Any questions before we get started? No? Officer
All right, guys, I'm
Gutierrez.
Officer Gutierrez of the California Highway Patrol. Thank you for letting me be here and speak to you. I appreciate you guys all showing up. Every time I do a presentation, usually half the people show up, so this is great. So I'm going to start off. We have this pre-survey. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. If you want to grab your phone and take a picture of it, you can do a survey. If you don't want to, don't even worry about it. I'll give you guys a minute here to do it if you want to. There's a pre and there's a post survey at the end. You know you're good. All right, we're good. Okay. So the goal today is to create safety awareness for all of you. And so basically we have the topics are 18 and driving, crash factors, safe driving strategies, DMV licensing, and self-assessment resources. Let's talk about aging and driving. So California right now has 4.8 million residents over 65 that have a license, and 75% of those are over the age of 80. And this young lady here is actually lived in Santa Barbara. She was 107. This picture was taken in 2016 from the Santa Barbara DMV.
Oh.
And with her condition, so I actually have some notes here I'll go over, but she had no medical conditions besides needing glasses, and she actually passed the test. So sometimes when people are getting older, they'll try to take the test, and laws have changed and whatnot. So when you took the test 20 years ago, they've changed, and it's a little harder now. But of that, there's a growing population. So there's 3.6 million people right now that are over 65 that have driver's license. So it's definitely a growing dynamic. And then we're going to talk about basically older road users. So what we're going to try to get you guys to do is try to take, well, you guys and anybody else, but try to take fewer risks. So what that means is you guys want to go like Santa Barbara during traffic hour, right? Let's say it's 5 o'clock and you're going down south of Ventura and traffic's just backed up for hours. I don't like driving that, and I know you guys don't like driving that. So if you happen to be retired, you can plan around that and leave it like 1 o'clock and then not have any of that traffic to deal with. Definitely helps to drive and helps other people get to places they want to get to. With older road users, they have more experience driving. You don't have to raise your hand if you want to. If you have more than 20 years experience, raise your hand. 30? 40? Okay.
Keep your hands up.
I got a lot, right?
Okay, you're really aging us here.
Well, what I want to maybe is a lot of people have all this experience, so they're more patient. They know how it takes longer to get to places sometimes with traffic and whatnot. You have greater life experience, so you can basically. I do another class where it's called Start Smart, where you teach. I have the parent and their kid in the class, and I try to get the parent to teach the kid how to drive. And so if you guys are in the car with somebody younger, you can actually teach them, hey, slow down, 3-second rule. You know, have a high visual horizon, stop using your cell phone. There's different tips and tricks you can give them and just teach off your driving experience. When older road users usually are more compliant with the laws. I mean, when I'm citing people for going 100 miles an hour, it's usually somebody in their 20s, you know, maybe 30s. Yes.
Please talk more slowly.
Absolutely. Sorry.
A little bit louder.
I'll slow it down.
Do you want the mic?
I can do the mic. Yeah. All right. Hello? Hello? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. I will slow it down. Got it.
Otherwise, you get a ticket.
Yeah. I'm exempt. Remember that. Okay, so what I was trying to say is, older road users are usually more compliant with the law. So when I stop people for driving really fast, it's usually a younger person. And I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen that where somebody's coming up behind you and they're tailgating you and you move out of the way, and then they're going 100 miles an hour and then get stopped. Half the time, I'll stop somebody and write them a ticket, and people are honking their horn or the thumbs are up after. So what I like to say with that is, if you guys have somebody that's tailgating you, just move over and let them go. My little saying I have is move over and let them get the ticket.
Yeah.
So you just be patient with that. Okay, so we're gonna have some health impacts with the older drivers. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. So you got, let's see, let me look at my notes here, make sure I cover everything. So there's a lot of medical conditions like Parkinson, cancer, heart disease, and breathing issues that may cause medical problems. We got medications. A lot of people are taking multiple medications, sometimes up to 5 to 10. And some of the medications say do not drive a vehicle or do not operate heavy machinery while on this medication. Had a lady in Santa Barbara. She was driving northbound 101 South Patterson, and she was literally driving across all 3 lanes of traffic. She was running a traffic brake. So we pull her over, get her off the freeway, and we tell her to pull to the right shoulder, and she stops right in the middle of the off ramp, blocking both lanes. And then we, have our little mic, we're like, pull over to the right, pull over to the right. And she's, I am. And she was, unfortunately, she was on medication, and she was driving, so technically it's a DUI. So just be careful when you guys look at your medication, talk to your doctor about it and say, hey, am I allowed to drive with this? And then if you're not, just be cognizant of that. Strength and mobility. Sometimes, you have a broken arm or, things are harder to turn the wheel. If there's, let's say an animal runs in front of the road and then you gotta make a furtive movement to like turn left or right depending. I've had a mountain lion. I was driving along on the 101 northbound Gaviota. The mountain lion just ran right across the freeway. I slammed on my brakes, and then I was able to let him run by and just keep going. But sometimes you have a little bit of I don't know, just sometimes it might be harder to turn the wheel or make those further movements if you need to. Like myself, vision. I feel like the older we get, the harder it is to see, especially at night for me. I have 2 eyes with astigmatism, so when I'm driving at night, it's really hard for me to see the signs or read the words and whatnot. So definitely want to slow down with that. And then cognition, there's definitely in memory loss or dementia, there's definitely some problems. We've had a couple incidents where people drove up from LA and they're thinking they're going to, this one guy was going to visit his wife at the hospital and he ended up in Santa Barbara, but he was supposed to go to LA. And he actually ran out of gas, so we stopped him and said, hey, what's going on? He's like, hey, trying to go to LA, whatever medical center. And we ended up driving him back to his wife, and then we had another officer fill up the gas, and then one officer drove the car down there, and then our other officer drove him down there. But if you don't know where you're, if you're losing mental capability or memory loss, you definitely want to tell people where you're going. Hey, I'm going to go to visit this person, and then if they don't get there in 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe somebody's be like, hey, where's mom, where's dad, or where's whoever, and then kind of start calling around. So medication and driving, kind of skip to that a little bit, but 2/3 of drivers that are over 65 take 5 or more medications daily. Don't want to ask you guys about that, but I'm sure some people in this room may be doing that. Like I said, just be careful on that. I already covered that. So alcohol and driving. So 1/3 of all fatalities in California involve alcohol impaired drivers. And I'm in the California Highway Patrol. We see this all the time. It's actually tragic. Maybe it's not even you, you're driving, but it's some other person driving drunk. This happens a lot of times. The person's driving drunk. They said they're going wrong way in the freeway, and then they crash, and they're usually fine, and they usually kill the person in the other car. So something at night, I always try to tell people to drive in the right lane, because a lot of wrong way drivers think they think they're in the slow lane. If you're driving northbound and you're in the slow lane, you're off to the right. Well, they'll get on the freeway going wrong way, and they'll stay off to the right thinking they're in the slow lane, but they're in the fast lane. So if you're driving at night, stay to the right. That's always a good thing. Have your headlights on. Also, if you're drinking, sometimes it takes longer to process alcohol. So there's an alcohol consumption rate, which is 0.02 per hour. So if you drink 1 beer in about an hour, your body should have it consumed. So there's no more alcohol content in your body. But sometimes, the older you get, it actually kind of stays there a little longer. So if you have 1 beer, you might be 0.01. And if you guys have, you're having a nice party and you're hanging out all day, next thing you know, you had 6 or 7, you actually might be over the limit and not even realize it. And a lot of people that are drinking and driving, they feel fine. It's till they crash or something happens, and then they go, oh, I guess I shouldn't have been drinking. Plus, alcohol can intensify the effects of medications. So, like I said, when you talk to your doctors, figure out what you can and can't drink with, because some medications will make you very, very loopy if you have alcohol with them. So be careful on that. So cannabis, I'm not gonna ask you smoking and driving, but we've actually had quite a few cannabis people, or people that are smoking marijuana and they're driving and they get arrested for DUI. Because they're just all over the place and they just can't process things. So just be careful about that. And I know sometimes cannabis can actually help, dull pain and help people get through things. So just be careful on that. So if you are gonna do that, it's legal in California, just try to stay home and make sure there's enough time to process before you start driving. So your physician can help. You can if you are taking medication or something and something changes with you, you feel something like, hey, this is getting really strong, or I'm getting dizzy when I take this medication, I don't think I can drive properly. Talk to your doctor. Sometimes there's another medication they can take, and that can actually help you. Also likes to review the medications with your doctor. Say, this is my normal day. I go to work, or I go to hang out somewhere. I do whatever you normally do. Tell them, this is what I know. This is what I do, and if I take these medications, when should I take them? And they can set up a nice plan and help you do that safely. And also, if you have any driving concerns, or if you can't see, or let's say you can't see out of your peripheral vision, bring that up to a doctor and say, hey, I'm having these issues. What should I do? Whether it's a doctor or optometrist, just say, hey, what do you think I should do? And they can give you some good tips and tricks on how to deal with that. We're going to talk about crash factors. Okay, so at fault for crashes. So these are the most common, we call them PCFs, pulmonary crashes. So what I mean by that is, if you're driving too fast, driving fast in California is the number one cause of all crashes. You guys are driving well. Everybody's driving fast here, right? So that's the number one overall. And so I want you guys to take a look at these. You guys all know what this is: unsafe driving, improper turning, automobile right of way, DUI, and unsafe lane change. I know you guys know all that, right? But what do you guys think for people over 65 years of age? What's the greatest factor for them crashing?
Unsafe lane change.
Unsafe lane change. What do you guys think?
Improper turning.
Driving too slowly?
It's actually the automobile right of way. So a lot of people, it's really hard. They try to make a left-hand turn at an intersection, and that's actually one of the most dangerous turns you can make. And actually, somebody wrote a book years ago. It's called "Always Make Right-Hand Turns."
Yeah.
And so, if you can make a right-hand turn, if you think about it, when you turn right, you have the whole window and you can see everything. But when you make a left, you have that first pillar, the second pillar, and the third pillar. So you have a bunch of blind spots. So when you make a left turn, you also have the cars to your left, cars in front of you, cars to your right. Whereas if you're making a right turn, you're usually just kind of at the corner of the intersection, and you're just trying to make a quick right. So we'll talk about that in a second. But people that are over 80 years of age, that is the biggest cause of crashes for them. So if you can, try to stay making right turns. Okay, so we're going to talk about intersection crashes. So 40% of all fatal crashes of people over 80 are at the intersection, just like I talked about that left-hand turn. And most of the time they don't see the other vehicle coming, or they're misjudging the distance. They're like, oh, that car's not going too fast, and they just turn, and next thing you know, they get hit. We're going to talk about some safe driving strategies. So, let's see. Sometimes these notes are, when they write them, they don't make sense. So for safer left turns, what I would say is go to lights that actually have a left-hand turn lane. So when it turns green, you have everything stopped for you. Try to avoid lights that just turn green and there's no arrow. And then if you are at those intersections and you know them and you've been here a long time, try to make a right and a right and a right, and then that makes you go to the left. It takes maybe an extra couple minutes, but you'll get there safely. Definitely using your signals. A lot of people don't use signals these days. Yeah, then we're definitely going to talk about the 3-second rule later in the presentation. Actually, if I just turn that, let me turn this and we'll talk about each one separately. So if you want to go right to make a left turn, just kind of we said right, right, right. And you're still making that same turn, but you have all that visibility, and there's definitely lot less worry of making that left-hand turn and getting hit by somebody. Also, we have a lot of unexperienced drivers, you know, every year. All the 16, 17, 18-year-olds are getting their license, and a lot of them drive really fast and are really inexperienced. So you try and make that left-hand turn, and they think they can beat you, or you know, make the light or whatever it is. Especially with the yellow light, a lot of kids think it's a race. Let me beat the red light. Okay, so safer freeway driving. So just so you guys know, everybody that's on the freeway already has the right of way. So it's not their job to, like, they're driving on the freeway and they're in the slow lane and you're merging on. It's not their job to let you get in. So when you're merging, you want to have your blinker on. You want to be looking over your shoulder. You want to make sure you're driving at a speed safe enough to merge. So with people that older drivers that I have seen in the past is they'll go at like 40 miles an hour as they're trying to merge on, and everybody's going 65 to 80. And so then as they merge on, they get hit from behind. So try to be at least 65 miles an hour as you're merging on. Now obviously some of these on-ramps like Arriaga or I don't know, the Castillo, or I don't know, some of these on-ramps are just really hard to turn on to. Santa Monica and Carp. So if you can make it so you can get on an on-ramp that has more an actual on-ramp, that's definitely a good idea, depending on where you live. You guys know where you live, so just try to take that extra on-ramp, maybe drive an extra 5 minutes to get there and get on safely without worrying about somebody hitting you from behind. As you're merging on at that safe speed and you have your blinker on, keep on looking over your shoulder. Make sure that you have enough, like an opening for you to merge safely. And then if you're going to be leaving the freeway, plan ahead. If you know the exit's coming up in a mile or two, just already get to the right. What happens a lot is people think they're about to miss their off-ramp and they start merging over really quick, and they have that blind spot and they don't see somebody and then they crash into them. We've had that quite a few times with people that have been driving for a long time that just don't see them. And sometimes people have medical conditions where they can't look over their neck, like they can't turn their neck off to the right, and so they can't even do that, so they just say, oh, look at my mirror's fine. And then somebody's driving too fast and they get right in your blind spot and you don't see them. So we're talking about using signals that improves visibility and safety. There's actually a vehicle section called 22107, which I'm sure you guys will remember later on. But whenever you have to make like a lane change and you're going to affect somebody's traffic, you have to turn on the blinker. So if it's like 2 in the morning and you want to change lanes and there's nobody on the freeway, you don't need to turn on your blinker. But if you're going to change lanes at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and there's traffic in all the lanes, you have to turn on your blinker because you're merging over. So if you don't turn on your blinker and you merge over and somebody hits you from behind, technically it would be their fault for hitting you from behind, but if you moved over too fast, it would be your fault for the 22107. Or it would be an associated factor, which means if you didn't move over without your blinker, like the accident wouldn't happen either. So it could be associated or it could be your fault. So definitely be careful on that. Okay, so the 3-second rule. So there's perception and reaction time. So as you're driving along, and let's equate this to an accident or a crash. Let's say you're driving along, you look ahead, you see somebody crash. It takes your brain 1.5 seconds to say, oh, somebody just crashed. And then you want to hit the brake, right, because you want to slow down. It takes your body 1.5 seconds to actually go, oh, I got a brake. So the faster you're going, it's going to take a lot longer to actually come to a complete stop. So it's going to take at least 3 seconds for your mind to realize it and your body to do it. So if you're going like 80, 90 miles an hour, you're going to need a lot more distance to stop. But if you're going 65, it's going to be a lot less distance to stop. And I have a video here to show you.
Driving is everything. And when you're on the highway, every second counts.
Can you turn it up?
We usually think of stopping in terms of space, but what really matters is time. It takes about 1.5 seconds to notice a potential risk in front of you, and another 1.5 seconds to react, hit the brakes, and slow down. So you want to give yourself at least 3 seconds between the car in front of you and your vehicle. To measure, wait for the car ahead of you to pass a set object. Tree, road sign, light pole, any clear marker will do. After it passes, start counting. 1001, 1002, 1003. If you reach that same object before you reach 3, you're too close. Of course, this 3-second baseline is right for a car in normal driving conditions. Driving in bad weather, add 1 more second. Driving an SUV, add another second. If you're driving a commercial vehicle, it's got to be at least 6 seconds. So don't forget the 3-second rule, and don't forget to share the safety with your friends and family.
Okay, so there's actually a vehicle code called 21703, and that's basically you're driving too close to the car behind you. You guys ever been tailgated? Everyone here been tailgated before? Right? All of us? Me too. Even in my patrol car, I get tailgated sometimes. I actually do something about it though. So basically, you want, like, the 3-second rule is good. You want to be at least, I would say, 3 car lengths behind somebody. But I've had it where I've seen somebody, they were so close it looked like their car was being towed. And so, like, I would definitely stop somebody for that. Just be careful. And if somebody's tailgating you like that, just definitely move either right or left depending, and let them go, because it's definitely unsafe. If you have to stop, they're definitely going to crash into you. We have that happen a lot in the construction zone right now. People are tailgating, it's 55. Some people are going 80, and some people are going 55, right? Caltrans actually contracts with us. We have 2 officers there all day and all night that write tickets the entire shift. And they're getting at least 10 to 15 tickets each shift, so anywhere from 20 to 30 tickets a day for 2 officers. So it's about 60 tickets a day, and it just doesn't stop. So just be careful through that construction zone. And then when it rains right now, it's going to rain tomorrow and the next couple days. We had 12 crashes in that construction zone because people were going too fast. They're used to going 65 even when it's raining, and you definitely have to slow down for that, because I'll go 45 in the rain. It just depends on how much rain's out there and how much water's on the freeway. And during a construction zone, sometimes they don't have adequate drainage, and so it puddles, and then you start hydroplaning. And you can hydroplane on a very, very little amount of water. And if you happen to do that, you want to steer your vehicle straight. You don't want to, like, turn the wheel really, really hard, because what happens is when your wheels catch, it'll start going whatever direction the wheels are facing. So if you do start to hydroplane, face your wheels forward. If you have to turn a little right, a little left, that's fine, but make sure they're facing forward, and do not brake. If you slam on your brakes, you're going to lose control of your car. Some of the new cars have electronic stability control, which allows it so it causes understeer. And what understeer is when you're driving and you slam on your brakes, it's going to make you go straight. So just be cognizant of that. Any vehicle after, I think it's 2012, will have that on there. So you just got to be careful. And then the newer vehicles are also installed with traction control. So if you have a newer vehicle, it's going to have traction control, electronic stability control. So that's basically going to make you understeer. So just be careful. Drive slower, give yourself some more time. And I don't think this presentation talks about high visual horizon. So I'm just going to show you. Well, I'll do it first and have you guys do it with me. So put your hand like this, and then go out and then in. Go out and in. So pretend this is a car in front of you, okay? So when you're this close to somebody, you're too close, right? You can't see around the car. But when you back up, you can see around the car. And so when I'm driving, I'll look like 5, 6, 7 vehicles ahead of me. So if something happens ahead of me, then I can already plan for it. I can brake, slow down, whatever I need to do. But a lot of people, which I'm sure you guys have seen, the vehicle right here, and then that vehicle brakes and they brake, and they go faster and they go faster, and they brake, right? We have a lot of that going on. So just try to have a high visual horizon, look 5, 6, 7 vehicles ahead of you. If you see something, you can prepare for it. So we've got residential neighborhoods. We definitely have a lot of things going on. You get pedestrians running around, especially kids chasing the ball. I've actually had that happen a few times when driving around. Being in a highway patrol, we drive anywhere from 100 to 200 miles a day at least. So we have a little more exposure to getting in a crash or somebody hitting us or something like this happen where a kid runs out. Definitely be cognizant of if it's after school, you're gonna have more kids playing in the neighborhoods and whatnot. So just if you think about the time of day that you're driving, there's probably gonna be kids in a neighborhood, or if you're around a school, it's possibly an issue. We had Puente Drive. There's one year we had 3 skateboarders got hit by cars. They were actually backing out their driveway, and the skateboarder wasn't looking, and then the person backed up and just literally took them out, and literally all on the same street. So please be careful when you're backing out of your driveway. You want to look left, look right, look left, and keep your head on a swivel as you're backing up. Because what happens is you look 3 times, you're like, okay, I'm good. Then you look at your camera. I'm sure you guys have backup cameras. Pretty much everybody. Yeah. Then people just look at that backup camera and they don't really look off to the side. So be careful with that too. You got cyclists and scooters. And a lot of these scooters these days, I mean, some of these are going like 35, 40 miles an hour, and these kids are driving real crazy. So we've gotten calls about that. The California Highway Patrol actually putting together a whole scooter program, so we're making new laws with the legislator and trying to figure out what's safe and appropriate for kids and young adults that are it's kind of a new fad that's started in the last 5 years. And then a lot of bicyclists in Santa Barbara. I'm sure you guys see bicyclists everywhere, right? A lot of bicyclists here will actually run a lot of stop signs. So we had 2 motor officers. I want to say they wrote at least 100 tickets in a day, and they actually knew the entire bike route. So they would stop at a stop sign. 10 of them would run it. They'd write like 5 of them, and they go to the next stop sign. And they were motor officers, and they would just go down the whole route and just constantly write them tickets, and they just run them. They just don't stop.
I'm surprised more of them aren't killed or hit.
Well, if they do get hit, usually they don't make it, or it's a serious injury.
What is it, the statistics?
We have quite a few bicycle accidents, actually, more than you would think. But then again, it's a big bicycle community, so it does happen quite a bit. Then you got animals. Santa Barbara's got lots of people with animals here. I used to work in South LA, and so there's a lot of animals out there too. I saved a Chihuahua off the freeway, and I don't know, Rottweiler off the freeway. That was a little scary. But you never know. Like, you just driving along, and I'm sure you've seen a squirrel or something right in front of you. Just be careful about that. I'm going to tell you like a little tip here. You guys take it how you want. And just so you guys know, I do like animals. Start off with this. But if you guys are driving along and you see like a 2,000-pound cow, right? You're on the freeway on the north end. You're going to Buellton. Cow gets out of the farm gate area and starts walking on the freeway. You guys think you should swerve to the right or left, or think if that cow gets in front of you, what do you think you should hit it or go around it? Don't hit it, right? Yeah, go around it. 2,000-pound cow is going to just completely wreck your car. Okay. So what I have a Start Smart class for teenagers, and I always find somebody. Well, hey, what kind of animal do you have? Oh, I have a little tiny Cocker Spaniel. What's her name? Her name is Cherry, whatever, right? And I go, if Cherry's running across the freeway and you're driving along, and there's a car on each side of you, would you hit Cherry, or would you try to get out of the way and swerve? And 9 times out of 10, the kids say they'll swerve, right? So if there is an animal on the road, a lot of people will swerve because they don't want to hurt an animal, but they don't realize they're going to hit another car or swerve off the road. Yeah. So if it's a smaller animal, it's probably safer it is safer just to drive straight through. You can try to kind of brake a little bit, and hopefully they can see it and move, but you gotta be careful with other people around you, or also just that 22-107 I talked about earlier, the unsafe turning movement. A lot of people do. They just fly right off the freeway because they make that turn so fast. So just be careful on that. So you got parking lots. You got pedestrians. And then we also have a lot of kids. Parents will have their kids in a cart, right? But if they have like 2 or 3 kids, there's always that one kid running ahead, or the 2 kids are racing, and then they're right behind your vehicle. Something I've taught my kids. I have 2 kids. I always tell them to, as you're walking across the vehicles, look in the driver's seat and see if somebody's in there. But a lot of parents don't do that, so just gotta be careful as you're backing. And I think backing up is one of the unsafest things. If you guys can go to a parking lot, and there's let's say there's stalls that face each other, right? So when you pull in, you're one vehicle this way, one vehicle this way. You can pull into the stall facing out, so when you leave, all you have to do is pull forward. That's a lot safer to do. A lot of people don't realize that, but a lot of people will just pull in the stall and always want to back out. But if you can just pull in to the next stall and drive out straight, it's so much safer. So if you can put that on your to-do list, that would be amazing. Then you got a lot of people leaving shopping carts around. They don't want to walk the 20 feet to go put it away. So be careful about that. And then sometimes shopping carts will be hit and they'll hit another car, then somebody gets mad about that. And then also the other thing to think about is there's a lot of electric cars. Anyone have electric cars here?
They're so quiet.
They're so quiet, yeah. And so, they're rolling around, you can't even hear them. And so just, like I said, head on the swivel as you're backing up. I have one too, actually. Good torque though, right? The other thing to think about is a lot of people don't ever realize, but there's different people that are handicapped that are wheelchairs, right? And so as you're backing up, you can't see somebody in a wheelchair most of the time. So you really have to be careful backing up the stalls. And then also, same thing we talked about earlier about bicyclists and parking lots too. They're usually driving a little fast. And so this is something new that some of the bigger cities are doing. And I could see Santa Barbara doing this. I don't really go into Santa Barbara very often. I have more work on the freeways areas. But this is like in San Francisco, where they actually have the parking on the street, and then they have a full bike lane in between. And so as you park and you want to walk across, let's say your coffee shop's over here, you're gonna have to walk across that bike lane. So if you park and you try to walk across, be careful for bicyclists, because they might hit you. And then a lot of people aren't comfortable parking, you know, next to these big old tall cones there, and or delineators, whatever you want to call them. But I've seen quite a few of those get hit when people do that. But just be careful. Just, you know, if you figure out a spot that you like to park that's a little safer for you or easier for you to pull into, do that.
You have
But
a passenger, like in that parking, you have a passenger, how do they get out?
there's a space, so if you can see they're spaced out, so you just, when you pull in, there should be enough room for you to open your door. But it's definitely something they're trying to figure out. They want these, like, it's like a green community where they want more bicyclists instead of cars.
The other issue is you're very, from San Francisco, it's very hard to make a right turn, almost every street. So you're going to make a right turn, your car isn't supposed to be in the bike lane, right? But you're also trying to make your right turn, and they're going at a great speed. The bikes are going at a great speed.
She brought up a good point.
And
She
you're
said
having to go into the bike lane to execute your right turn.
Yeah, and when you do go in that bike lane, you're allowed to go in the bike lane. So she brought up a point, in case you guys didn't hear her. She says she's from San Francisco. She has a very similar situation. When she wants to make a right-hand turn, she got to go in the bike lane. The bicyclists are riding really fast.
Yeah.
So in that situation, you're allowed to go in the bike lane as you get up within, I think it's 150 feet to the bike lane, and you have to turn on your blinker. But you have to be careful for bicyclists still trying to go around you as you're making a right
They
turn.
think they can beat you.
Yeah, and they think it's a race and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, I know, it's kind of frustrating sometimes.
Well, it's just, you have to really just be so slow and cautious.
Absolutely.
Like you're saying.
So how about some distracted driving? So these are the most common distracted driving issues we have. So eating and drinking. A lot of people don't realize radio, but the biggest one that we've seen is passengers. Because when you have somebody in the car, you're talking about, you know, let's go to coffee or let's have a tea time or whatever it is. And then as you're talking, what does somebody do? They want to look at the person they're talking to. So they're driving along, they're looking over. They're not looking at the roadway, right? And if you're one of those people, I like to talk with my hands sometimes. So then you take your hand off the wheel and you're talking. And then these days you got GPS coordinates. So I've had it a few times where I was driving on the freeway in LA and this lady just completely cut me off. And she's like, well, the GPS told me I needed to go here right now. So it's just like, okay. And then you got pets. I know there's a lot of people that have pets on their laps, and you know, like if the dog has to go to the bathroom and it's going to the bathroom on you, you're gonna look down and kind of freak out, right? Like, so then kids, everybody, you know, you see the parents looking back at the kids and tell them to be quiet or whatever it is. I've seen people definitely, it says email, but reading their text messages and whatnot. There's a lot of distractions these days. Yes.
You know, one thing I'm not seeing on here is just simply spacing out. I mean.
Oh yeah, I've done that where you've driven an hour and you're like, I'm already here.
Yeah. I mean, your mind can take you to a totally different place while you're driving along.
It happens to me when my girlfriend's talking to me a lot. Same thing. Try to make you guys laugh. Yes.
Is it legal to have pets on your lap when you're driving?
There's no law against it, but there's a vehicle section called 22350, and it basically states what's the safe speed for the conditions. So like if your dog is causing you to swerve all over the freeway, then they can write you for that. And then when they go to the judge, you know, let's say write 2350. They say the safe speed for an animal causing you to swerve all over the roadway is 0, right? And so that would be the way of doing it. It's called the catch-all. Yes.
What about, a lot of cars, mine included, have electric cars that have full safe self-driving or auto lane?
Right.
What's the story with that?
For a distraction?
Not for distraction so much as,
Talking about safety features?
yeah, or is there a law that, because my car, if I take my hands off, it stays in lane.
Right. I know, but I have an electric car, and my car will start beeping at me if I take my hands off for too long. But I'm assuming you have a Tesla, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the Teslas have self-driving ability, but what sometimes happens is we've seen this where somebody crashes and they're partially blocking the lane, not the whole lane. And the Tesla can't account for that all the time. And so you drive along, let's say you're taking a nap, and it's on self-driving mode, and that part of the lane's blocked. The Tesla will still crash into the car that's crashed in front of you. So that's something you want to. That's why they want you to have your hands on the wheel and have your eyes on the road. But you can definitely have it on self-driving mode and just kind of be ready in case something happens. And same thing, if an animal runs in front of the car really quick, it's not going to be able to stop fast enough.
But if you pass me in your CHP car,
Yep.
and my hands are not on the wheel,
No, I mean
am
there's
I in trouble?
no. Definitely not. Definitely not. But we know how to stop Teslas. You get in front of them and you brake. That's how you stop a Tesla on self-driving mode. You get in front of them and you brake, and they automatically stop. And then they have there's another mode where you turn on the code 3 lights and they will actually pull over. Arizona has a lot of self-driving cars right now, and they're really breaking into that market. And I think San Francisco started doing it, but they're really trying to get into that market right now where cars just drive themselves.
I'm Brady, right?
Yes.
I don't know if this is true for all ages, but this was something that somebody pointed out to me not too long ago, that older drivers have a tendency to fascinate with something that catches their attention. And I noticed this the other day. I was driving along and I spotted somebody and I thought, my God, are they wearing green clothes? I don't know. I mean, it was totally random, but I thought, I gotta, I was seeing something and I wanted to check what I was seeing rather than, stay attentive to the road.
I was just saying the same thing. Yeah, it's just like you kind of like spaced out and like focus on something else.
It's not exactly spacing out. It's actually fixating on something.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a distraction, absolutely. And then you have to be cognizant about yourself as a person, like, hey, I do that too much. I need to make sure, I focus on the road as well. But yeah, it's really, I mean, it's kind of funny. I've had it where, good girl's walking down the street and some guy's like staring at her and they crash right into a parked car. And I was like, was she really cute? Was it worth it? No. But yeah, he fixated on her. Yeah. And so distracted driving is what you said, is an activity that takes your attention away from the primary task of driving. So perfect example. And those other examples were all other examples.
Do you have any helpful hints? Are there any, things that?
Yeah, so your cell phones actually have, which I was going to talk about next year, cell phones have an option where if you're driving, you can have them answer for you. So it says, right now, let's say your name is Julie. Julie's driving right now, and she's done driving. She'll get this text message or call, and she'll call you back or text you back. And it has an automatic message on there. A lot of iPhones will do that anyways. If you have an Android phone or other type of phone, you can actually download an app, and the app will do that for you if you turn it on. So that's something to do. Or some people just put their phone in the glove box, close it, and when you get to where you want to go to, then open it. I don't think you guys are really the demographic of always being on your phone and driving, but it's really the younger people that we're trying to get that message to. But we definitely have some older drivers will have the old GPS systems, and they'll have it right by the window there, or by the front window, and they'll be looking down at it as it's telling them where to go because they're not sure where they're going. But sometimes people have the cell phone holders there, and they'll have to be using their GPS. They're not using the phone as a talking device, but just more as a navigation. And so yeah, there's multiple codes. If you're touching your phone now, whether it's navigation or talking, that technically you get a ticket for that now. So it's got to be completely hands-free if you're older than 18. If you're 18 and younger, they don't want you even touching it or talking or anything, unless you're calling 911. It's the only exemption they have for that. So we're going to talk about the three types of distractions, okay? So you got visual, anything that takes your eyes off the road. And you got manual, anything that takes your hands off the wheel. And cognitive, anything that takes your mind off the task of driving. And so when you're texting, it involves all three of those. And so a lot of people just don't realize it. They think, oh, I can look really quick and come up. And the average person that actually looks at a text message, and as they're driving, they look back up at the road. They drive the length of a football field, so that's something to keep. And I'm sure you guys see people texting and driving, they're kind of weaving all over the place, right? Yeah, or they're driving really slow. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I see most of the time they're weaving. So if I see somebody weaving, I'll tell you my little secret. Here's what I like to do. I like to go on a freeway off ramp that's elevated, like on the SR 150 by by Carpinteria, and you can stand there when traffic gets really crazy and it's really backed up. You just see like person after person just sitting on their cell phone. Happens quite a bit. I get to stand there and watch them do it. Get in my car, drive right next to them. They don't even see me, and I'm like, hey, you've been on your phone for about 2 minutes now. So I'll show you a video of somebody texting and driving. So here.
Tonight, disturbing new cell phone video showing that pickup truck swerving on a rural Texas highway. Somebody needs to stop them. Just minutes before authorities say it crashed head on into this church bus, killing 13 people on board.
You're talking about grandmothers, grandfathers. There was a husband and wife on that same bus together.
Jody Kutchler was trailing the truck for a half hour Wednesday, watching as it crossed into oncoming traffic, coming dangerously close to this truck. Just after that devastating crash he predicted, Kutchler says he pulled over, and the 20-year-old driver, Jack Young, admitted to him that he'd been texting behind the wheel.
As a son, do you realize what you just did? And he said, I'm sorry, I was texting.
What are those 3 categories again? For distraction?
Yeah, so it's manual, or it's visual, manual, and cognitive. Visual, manual, and cognitive. And so, I mean, you saw this kid driving like that, right? And then to think about it, like the church bus was doing nothing wrong. They were just driving along, staying in their lane.
The cop was behind them for half.
That's not a cop. That was somebody taking a video from their phone.
Okay.
So I was just going to guess that we actually get a lot of calls saying, "Hey, there's a drunk driver here. There's a drunk driver here." And so when something like that happens, we'll usually charge involuntary manslaughter for each person. Yes.
How do you connect with CHP if you're driving and you witness something like that?
So if
Or
you call
just-
911,
Oh.
depending on where you live, so like, let's say you're in the city of Santa Barbara and you're at Petrini's or something, right?
Yeah.
It'll automatically transfer to the Santa Barbara Police Department 911. But if you're on the freeway, it automatically transfers to CHP or sheriff.
Oh.
So the cell phone towers kind of know where you're at. So we're the state police, so we're the entire state of California. And so the way it's built, basically, we get most of the calls on the freeway, just like probably like 90% of them. Sometimes when you're in the city, they might go to the city first, but we do a lot of transfers to the city because we get calls from the city. So but anyways, yeah, so just dial 911 and most likely you'll get us, all right? And if you see somebody driving like that, please call 911, yes.
So, I've been with somebody that did that. What's the most efficient information you need? Like, you need the license plate? Like, if I'm calling them and I'm saying, okay, I'm watching this guy speed, well, what else do you need in terms of information?
Your location, that's the main thing. A lot of people don't know where they are. You're driving along, I'm on the 101. Narrows it down. Just past this overcrossing. All right. So know which direction you're going, what freeway you're on or roadway you're on, and then what's the nearest cross street or on ramp or off ramp. So like, let's say you're in the north end and you're going towards Santa Barbara from Buellton. You're like, I'm going southbound 101. I'm south of El Capitan. It's a blue vehicle. It's in the slow lane or number 2 lane. And just so you guys know, the lanes are numbered. The fast, like at that location, there's 2 lanes. Fast lane is the 1 lane. The slow lane is the 2 lane. So you can say 1 or 2 lane. You can say fast or slow lane, however you want. Then if you have a license plate, great. It definitely helps us. But a lot of times, if somebody's driving a certain way, it's easy to identify that vehicle if they keep that habit up. And then what we'll try to do is, we call it a 23103 call, just like reckless driving. And we'll try to post ahead and just wait for them. And then sometimes we'll say, your phone number will pop up on the 911 call. And then the officer, like, we'll call you like anonymously, so you can't see our cell phone number, but I'll say, hey, where are you at now? Turn on your 4-way blinkers. And then you're driving behind them, and I see your 4-way, so I know it's the car in front of me. So that's something I've done in the past. And sometimes we'll have dispatch, you want to stay on the phone with dispatch, we'll have them tell you to do that. And then we'll as you see the patrol car, you just back up and we'll pull them over. A lot of times it's a drunk driver, but sometimes they're distracted. I've had it where they've been on a diabetic shock, where it was a medical necessity or medical emergency, and they just didn't know. So there's a lot of things you have to think about, but it's hard to diagnose it right away until you stop them and actually talk to the person. But yeah, if you feel something's unsafe, it helps us keep the public safe. Because yes.
Do any roads in California have mile markers? Back in New York, you guys.
They have them all over the place. You just don't really see them here as much. It's hard.
Then what's the point?
So if you go on the 154, I mean, you can use mile marker, but they're really small here. It's not like, I know what you're talking about, they have a big old sign that tells you exactly where you are. Like if you go on the 154, they're along the whole 154. They're on the 101, but it's hard to see them. I mean, they're really small. But the 154, there's only one lane each way, so it's like they're right there.
Yeah.
But it's definitely hard to do that. And then, I mean, when you get to certain areas in California, like, and you go to East Camino Cielo, like, oh, we're past the third river crossing, like, there's no street up there, right? So it gets really hard to do that.
Yeah, the wagon train.
Yeah, so you end up using like, geological points, or we're by this farm or whatever, I don't know. Like,
Use a cow.
yeah. There's that cow, exactly. All right, so I'm gonna give you guys, can we talk about this yet? Okay, so this is like a little bit of a test here, okay? So multitasking is a myth. The brain can perform 2 thinking tasks at the same time, or does it switch quickly between tasks? What do you guys think? It does switch quickly, you guys are right. Okay, so true or false? Taking on hands-free device is safer than using a handheld cell phone while driving. True? False. They're both the same. You're still distracted.
So how do you make that 911 call?
I think that's more of an emergency. Yeah. And the idea is they'd love for nobody to talk on the cell phone while they're driving. But if something's egregious and you're like, hey, this person's going to kill somebody, well then, hey, pick up the phone and say, hey, something's going on here. That's all. All right, so have you seen this, guys? Have you seen somebody just road rage really mad? Her name is Karen. Just kidding. Hopefully there's no Karens in here. So there's a section in the Penal Code, it's 245, and so basically we've had where people like throw water bottles or get out of the car and fight somebody, and then basically it's assault. So you don't want to get in a fight with somebody. It's better. It's like I said earlier. Like it's better just to kind of let them go ahead instead of getting some type of road rage incident. I mean, I've seen people go crazy and they pass you, and then you're getting off on the next off ramp, and they're right in front of you, and they gain 1 car space. So it's really easy just to move over and let them go. We had an incident here in Santa Barbara where 2 cars were doing that. One guy was driving like a maniac, and he got to this other guy who was not going to let him pass. And so they kind of played this cat and mouse game. And this guy faked him out, went here, and then just hit him off the road. And so when he hit him off the road, one of our chiefs, who's really high in the department, he was in an unmarked car and he saw it happen. So then he called for multiple units to go help the guy that crashed, and then he followed the guy that took off. And so he arrested both of them. So the guy that hit him got arrested for a felony, and the guy that crashed got arrested for a misdemeanor. Because they were both doing it. They're both driving really unsafe. So just try to stay away from that if you can.
Also, cyclists can develop road rage and produce a problem for people driving cars.
Motorcycle or
No,
bicyclists?
Bicycles. This happened to me one time. So I was stopped at an intersection and the cyclist didn't. I don't know, just wanted to play chicken or something like that. I mean, he was passing by, and I just stayed I just stayed calm in the car. I mean, he pounded on my. I mean, his other friends were like, come on, and I don't know, he just wanted to stand against me. And I just waited for him to finally get going. But somebody told me that it was wise to keep the window up because cyclists, if they're engaged in road rage, will squirt their energy drink in at you.
Yeah, they could do that. And a lot of times, cyclists, but also motorcyclists, will actually try to take off your mirror. If you cut them off, that's the one thing they like to do. It happens quite a bit. But she was saying that she was driving her car and a bicyclist was really upset. Maybe you cut him off earlier or something, he didn't realize it, or maybe you swerved a little over. In their mind, they own the roadway, right? So maybe you're too close to what they thought. I don't know. But anyways, he got upset and he hit her car, and she kept her window up and just remained calm, which is the right thing to do. And then the other bicyclist told the guy to just go, and he did. But I mean, if somebody does hit your car and they cause damage, you can definitely call and file a report. And if you have any video or any pictures or anything, you can definitely submit those and give us a type of follow-up. Or you can call 911 and say, I'm on the phone with the police right now, like, you better go. Sometimes that scares people too, because they know we're coming, right?
Can we spray with
Well, if your life's in danger and you feel that your life's threatened, you could use mace, absolutely. But you can't just spray with mace for the heck of it. You definitely have to have some circumstances about it, otherwise they'll charge you for assault. So be careful on that. So anyways, triggering behavior. So driving too slow or too fast. I've had both where people just like that scenario I gave you, the one guy was driving too fast. Yes, sir.
I like that you brought this up because even though I have seen not really road rage, but a lot of people using their horns and making quick lane changes because people are in the fast lane driving under the speed limit. So I would suggest, and maybe you can back it up, if you're going to be a slower driver, stay in the right-hand lane.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, please stay in the right-hand lane if you're gonna be a slower driver. Because that's what they do. They get right on the back of you. They think you're driving too slow, and then they move over and they try to cut you off just to kind of show you what's up, or they get in front of you and they start brake checking you. That's the other thing that we see all the time. But if they're starting to do that, like they're speeding and they're tailgating you, and then they move over and they cut you off, they start brake checking you, that's 3 infractions, which can count as reckless driving. So technically we can take them to jail for that, or cite them on the scene for multiple violations, and you possibly lose their license. So if you do see something like that, call it in, obviously. But yeah, you're right. If you're going to be driving slower, then just stay to the right. We're in California. A lot of people drive really fast, but we're definitely out there as an apartment. We write about 800,000 tickets a year, and then about 600,000 of those are speeding tickets. So we write a lot of speeding tickets. We're trying to recruit more people. We're actually down about 1,500 officers right now, but we're slowly graduating more people. I think every 2 months we're graduating about 100 officers. So we're hoping in the next couple of years to be able to catch up and you'll see some more enforcement. But lately I've seen a lot more officers on the road, so it's kind of nice. On my time off, I always look. I'm like, do I see? Okay, that's good. I've seen like 4 of them today. But yeah, we definitely get calls in the past that when we were really short. We were down a couple thousand officers, and we're getting calls from people saying, "I never see you guys on the road anymore." So we don't want to be in that that area. We definitely want to say, "Hey, there's too many of you guys out here." Like, what the heck? So we definitely want to keep the road safe if we can. But yeah, so triggering behaviors, also distracted drivers. So if somebody's driving too slow because they're on their phone, a lot of people get annoyed and they'll do that whole cutoff scenario. Following too closely because somebody's driving slow, that happens quite a bit. Sometimes when people are driving fast, the person behind them wants to drive faster will tailgate them. So that's another scenario to watch out for. And then I always say you should just be courteous. Just try to be a courteous person as you're driving. Because you never know what somebody's going through, right? Like somebody could have lost their parent, or wife broke up with them, or whatever it is, right? And then they start driving to where they gotta go, and then all it takes is that one thing, and then they lose their mind and they start driving crazy. So try to have a little compassion. Hopefully, maybe they're going through a bad day, and you just moving out of the way, just let's have that peace of mind of getting where they need to go. But yeah, definitely a lot of these accumulate with unsafe lane changes where they're going around people in and out of the lanes, and then when they make that lane change, within one car length of the vehicle, and causes you to have to brake because they're cutting you off. Just be careful about that as well. Let's finish up here. All right, so avoid road rage aggression. So you stay alert, don't engage, and call 911. Just what we talked about. Stay alert, don't engage, call 911. And then just kind of what we said earlier, kind of know your location, description of the vehicle. If you got a license plate, great. And if you can see the driver, a lot of times we can't prosecute cases if you can't recognize the driver. Because a lot of people just see the vehicle, and then, I don't know, let's say 3 or 4 or 5 people live at a house, and they say, I don't know who's driving the car. It's really hard to prosecute somebody if there's 5 people driving the car. And they all say, it wasn't me, right? Magically, they don't know who's driving the car, right? So a DA wouldn't really build a file on that if they can't prove the driver. So safe driving habits. So plan your trips. So, I mean, back in the day when I first started driving, you had that map. You had to buy that map from the gas station. Like, let me plan this here. But anyways, yeah. So figure out where you need to go. If you guys are local and yes.
Well, in this case, I live in this area, and I work once a week in Montecito.
Okay.
And I've been using the freeway, and I have felt uncomfortable lately because I get off at that hot springs, the left
Left off ramp.
ramp. Yeah. And you know, you have to kind of start moving over.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed a couple of times is if you get off too fast, sometimes there's big cars that will,
Stacked up.
yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of, we call it a blind curve. Even though it's not a curve, she's saying when you get off the freeway at Hot Springs, sometimes she's going a little not a little fast, but she's getting off, and then all of a sudden the cars are backed up, and then she has to slam on her brakes because there's too many cars there. But then you're on the freeway, so you want to go at freeway speed, so you're not getting people tailgating you, right, and cutting you off.
Yeah.
That's definitely a hard on ramp. You think they would just make it off to the right for some reason. I don't know why they didn't, but that's definitely a Caltrans issue there. But I would recommend turn on your blinker when you get over and kind of keep your blinker on so they know you're trying to get off. And so it doesn't look like you're just driving really slow to be safe, or driving really slow to annoy them. If they see the blinker, you know you're getting off of the off ramp. I think some people will be, okay. I can
Well,
see.
I'm thinking too, maybe I should try to take an alternate route to get to that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying earlier. I think Olive Mill's closed now, but eventually you do Olive Mill or
Coast Village Road.
yeah, Coast Village Road.
Before.
Well, that's still the same off ramp though.
Yeah.
Exit 95 is right before Hot Springs.
Yeah.
It's on the
Yeah.
right-hand
Yeah, there you
side,
go.
it's not marked.
Yeah.
So there are a lot,
Yeah,
he
that's
was
called
talking a
lots-
lot about
lots of
alternate
off-ramp.
routes, so planning, so if you don't like that exit, you can take, Old Coast Highway, or you can take the Bird Refuge.
Yeah.
So, and that's something we all have to think about. I don't like the Garden Street, left turn, because both lanes turn. It happens on Haley and then it happens at Cabrillo. And it's like you have people in the inside lane that are always turning to the outside lane. So you have to be really smart about things and planning your routes, so.
And also, if you are going somewhere and you guys all have cell phones, just type it in your cell phone and see if there's anything going on, like traffic. There's like traffic, an accident, or something being blocked, or Caltrans is working on something, they shut something down. You might have an idea of how to get there, and then you start driving it, you get frustrated because you don't know where to go because you take the same route every time. Then also let somebody know, like I said earlier, let somebody know where you guys are going. If you have somebody that kind of keep track and say, hey, to your husband, wife, son, nephew, whatever it is, whoever you talk to the most, just say, hey, I'm going here today, and just have somebody have keep an eye on that, because we've had it where multiple people have driven up here from LA and just they basically run out of gas, and then we help them out a couple times. And then the maintenance schedule, a lot of people they don't work. They don't like fill up their tires to a proper level, or their tires are bald, so when it starts to rain, it's like a little slip and slide on the freeway. They don't realize the control features they have. So like I said earlier, you have traction control and electronic stability control. Do you guys know what those are? Like, have you guys ever been look at your vehicle and knows what those are? Some people, yes, some people know. We have a lot of new technology, and then if you don't know that your vehicle is going to understeer if it's newer, that's something that's a big surprise. If you think you're turning and your vehicle's go straight. When I was at the academy, and we got new patrol vehicles, and we have a thing called skid pan. Basically, it's a big circle and it's soaking wet, and water's just pouring on it constantly. And they said, if I can spin the vehicle 360, he'd buy me a steak dinner. And I could not. I'd slam on the brakes, try to spin it, and it would just go straight. And so that's what the vehicles are going to do these days. So I didn't get a steak dinner, unfortunately. But also, like some people, if it's raining really hard, you're not going to want to get out and check your lights. So like my recommendation is if you're in your house and you have a window there, turn on your lights and look in the window and see if it's reflecting back. Just or during the maybe once a month or once a week, just do like a little check. Turn on your stuff, walk around, make sure your brake lights are working. If you don't have anybody to help you, you can back your car in your driveway and look at that same window, hit the brake lights, and see it reflect off of there. There's different ways you can do that, but just take a look at it. Make sure your vehicle's in proper working condition. Because it's the worst when something happens on when you're driving in bad roadway conditions, and then there's an emergency. How about hand placement for vehicles? So you got 9 and 3 and 8 and 4. These are considered the safest hand positions because the airbags come out. A lot of people used to put their hands over, and when they did that, it was breaking people's arms when the airbags were deployed. So they like to have 9 and 3 and 8 and 4. The 8 and 4 is a little more safer. because your hand's already below the airbag. 9-3 is a little closer, but if you can, try to focus on that.
So that
Stop doing that overhand. What's
On
that?
the 9 and 3, you're recommending what?
I mean, either 9-3, 8-4. I personally like 8-4 because it's a little lower.
Oh.
So when the airbag is deployed, if it gets deployed, your arms are in the way. 9 and 3 is still off to the side, but technically you can push your arms out. But if the recommended is not having it on top anymore, because your arms are resting on the right, and then the airbag deploys them up, and so it's really easy to break your arms.
What happened to 10 and 2?
That's what they taught us.
No
I know, no airbags, yeah. Remember the seatbelts too? It's seatbelts now, right? But yeah, so that's what they're recommending now. Like I said, like I said at the beginning, times have changed, and things change these days.
It was really changed.
Okay, and so they're saying, get your chest 10 to 12 inches from the steering wheel. There's a lot of people that will drive really close to the steering wheel, and if you do that and that airbag deploys, just for the same instance of you don't have young kids in the front seat, that's actually a good tip for a lot of people. If you guys have grandkids and they're like 12 years old or younger, they're going to want to sit in the front seat because they want to be cool and sit with you, right? A lot of cars will say at least 13 or older to be in the front seat, because when the airbag deploys, if the kid's head's lower and they're sitting forward, it'll actually break their neck. So for the very reason that they don't want a 13-year-old kid in the passenger seat or younger, they want that distance away. So when the airbag deploys, as you go forward, it braces you. But if you're sitting on the steering wheel and it deploys, it's going to push you back.
That happened to a friend of mine. She was on a freeway driving, her husband was sleeping, and the truck in front of her stopped quickly. She hit it, and the airbag broke her neck.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that. Okay. And then they want your chin above the steering wheel if you can. So a lot of these seats there's like different gadgets on the side where you can lift up the seat or bring it down depending on your height. So chin above 10 to 12 inches from the steering wheel. So you want to focus on blind spots now. And so kind of what I was talking about when you're merging on the freeway, you have this, that's the A pillar, B pillar, and C pillar. And so as you're driving, these pillars get in the way, so you can't really see on those two big areas there. So that's why I said earlier to have your head on a swivel as you're turning, because then you can look at your blind spot. A lot of these newer cars actually have little sensors on the right side mirror, so you turn on your right blinker and it actually shows you the blind spot. So if you guys are looking for new vehicles, there's a lot of safety features. Just maybe that's something you want to include in there. For some reason, they don't have them on the left side mirror because you have the window right there. But think of something like that maybe possibly if you're going to get a new vehicle.
Is there really a correct way to position your rearview mirrors? When it comes to side mirrors, the answer is definitely yes. Many drivers will position the side mirror to show an expanse of the side of the car. Why do that? Are you afraid the rear of the car is going to vanish if you don't keep an eye on it? What this does is it limits the field of view of the side mirror. If you tilt the mirror outward, you start to see what it's been missing, such as another car. To position your side mirrors, make sure your driver's seat's where you want it, and then lean a little bit to the left, look out the side mirror, and adjust it so just the very slightest amount of the car is visible on that inside edge. Then lean a little bit to the right and do the same on the right side mirror.
You see a car in your rearview mirror. As it exits the frame, you'll see it in your side mirror. And as it leaves your side mirror, you will see it right next to you. There is almost no time when a car is in your blind spot when using this method, either on your left or right side.
All right. Got a few more minutes. I want to get to some seatbelts here, but so don't, like I said earlier, don't rely on the camera view only. Look over your shoulder, head on a scroll. I've said that plenty of times. Shows you how to adjust your mirrors properly. Look for cross traffic. We talked about that earlier. Pedestrians, bicyclists, vehicles. And when you are backing up, back up very slowly because you never know what's behind you. All right, so always wearing a seatbelt. So 50% of all fatal victims were not wearing their seatbelts. And that's actually higher for people under 18. For some reason, kids don't like to wear them. And so if you have somebody sitting in the seat, there's a sensor for the airbags. So if there's nobody in the seat, the airbag won't be deployed in that seat. But if there is somebody sitting there and they weigh a certain, I think it's like 30 or 40 pounds. I think maybe a little heavier, but I don't know the exact limit, but the airbag will deploy. So if you're not wearing your seatbelt properly, I had an example where a person was wearing it across, like a lot of women, I don't know, let's say they're big chested, they don't want to wear it across their chest because it hurts, so they'll put it under their arm and across their waist. And so in this instant, the seatbelt stopped, there's a retractor, it locks, and then it actually broke the ribs, and the ribs went to their internal organs and she died. So wear it properly because it's made to go across your chest. So you may get some bruising, but you'll be alive, and so that's the whole point of wearing these properly. And so, let's see. I'm going to show you this last video, and then I'll be done.
Seatbelts are used to keep the driver properly restrained in the event of a crash. The proper way for an adult to wear a seatbelt is for the lap belt to fit low and tight across the hips and pelvis, not on the stomach area that contains soft tissue. The shoulder belt should come over the collarbone, away from the neck, and cross over the breastbone, fitting snugly across the chest. The shoulder belt should never be behind the back or under the arm. In the event of a crash, this can cause serious injury or death. In newer cars, the shoulder belt can be adjusted on the side pillar to improve the fit.
Well, thank you very much. I'll hang out here if you guys want to talk to me after. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Officer Gutierrez. Who has questions? Okay, Joe.
Documentation. I'm not crazy about keeping certain information in the glove box.
Yeah.
Do officers accept my license and registration on my phone?
Yeah, you can. No, we just write down the license number.
Everybody hear that?
No.
You can now keep your license and registration.
So your insurance is allowed to be on your phone. They still want a paper one. If you don't have your license and you have a picture of it, you could say, hey, I don't have my license on me, but here's a picture of it. We can run it by name and DOB if needed.
So, your license can be on your phone, but not your insurance?
Okay, so your insurance is allowed to be on your phone, but he was saying if you don't have your license, he doesn't want to keep it with him. But if you have a copy, like a picture of it, and you want to show it to us, we can write down the driver's license number and run it and make sure it's valid.
Okay. And I know the DMV was working with having the official California license on the app, but they're not there yet.
Not there yet. You're required to have your license with you, but if you show me a picture, most people aren't going to write you a ticket for it.
Okay.
All right? I said most people, yes.
I'm just curious about the cost of tickets. Can you give some examples?
So I don't work for the court, I don't make the cost, but usually the tickets are actually not very expensive. It's like $65 or something, 65 to 100, but then when they go to court, there's a court assessment fee, and then depending on, for instance, speeding, there's like a level, like if you're going 65 to 75, it's extra $100. If it's 75 to 85, it's 200. If it's above, it's 300. It just depends on what the violation is. If it's a car seat ticket, it's 500. If it's a stop sign ticket, it's 600. Like, there's different violations. They have certain fees associated from the court. All right.
Arlene?
Yeah, I have a question about dementia, people with dementia driving and concern. You used to be able to anonymously call the DMV and have them, I did this with my mother-in-law, she was unsafe, they retested her, she failed. I'm wondering if you can still do that, because I used to work for the Alzheimer's Association. People are driving unsafe, but that's what the silver alert is, right?
Right.
An elder, that happens a lot more than people realize. So, what's your strategy if you have somebody that you know should not drive? Can you report them to DMV to be retested?
I don't know. I don't work for the DMV, so I don't know that answer. But what we do is if we see somebody that we feel is unsafe to drive, we do a DMV re-eval, and then we make them go take the test again. And then,
The driving part.
like the officer, like if there's a crash or they're driving like weaving or something, we feel like they're unsafe. We take away their license and say you need to go to the DMV to get your license back.
Okay.
So we can do that as officers, but I'm not sure how the public can do it.
We have a lot of questions, so I'm gonna go, Susan?
I just have a quick comment. You may not have considered this in terms of distractions, but it has happened to me. If you're driving with a compulsive talker, that, you'd be surprised, is really dangerous. And I have given myself permission now, if it ever happens to me again, to tell them to shut up.
Well, we did cover that. We actually, that was in the presentation.
Yes. Hugh.
So I've heard it said that passers on the freeway, passing a car on the left is open, and passing on the right is open. You would just passing on the right more dangerous?
I mean, technically, as long as you're doing it safe, as long as you can pass either
Could you
way.
repeat the question, please?
And he was saying is passing on the left or the right, he said overtaking and undertaking is one more safe than the other. Generally, the slower cars are going to be on the right, so it's probably more appropriate to go to the left and pass. But people will pass both ways in California, but as long as you're doing it safely, it's okay.
I wanted to tag along with our lead. Is there a future time that we can get to the discussion of when should I take my keys away? Or that whole process of knowing when to stop driving and potentially be harmful?
So I think in the handouts that I gave you.
I just read some of them.
You know, are there some helpful tips and hints in there? We didn't cover a lot of that. When is the time? And that's really gonna be up to you and your family. You know, there are things you wanna look for. Do you have a lot of dents in your car? You know, are you getting to where you're going? Are you getting lost? Are you, forgetting, you know, different
Are your
things?
passengers frightened?
Your passengers are frightened when they drive with me, so I can't. I'm talking.
Yes, I saw some of it in here.
So we have, I didn't get to it, but part of the presentation is, like I said, near crash experiences, close calls, unexplained dents and scratches, getting lost in familiar locations, trouble moving your feet between the pedals, difficulty turning or looking side to side. What I recommend, it's not in here, but having a family member drive with you, and if they feel that it's unsafe, like, they'll let them, you know, somebody you trust and say, hey, you know what, I think you need to stop driving. Or, yeah, you're driving fine, like, I think you're great, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But definitely have somebody you trust drive with you and then give you their honest opinion.
Yeah, it may not be a family member, because you may not wanna listen to them.
Yeah.
So, it could be a friend, or a neighbor,
Or an occupational therapist.
or an occupational therapist, yeah.
Are safeguard, the cars that drive themselves safe?
I mean, the companies that put them out would like to say that, right? But we're kind of in this new era. It's really being tested still. Like I said, I've seen some crashes where the cars still hit cars that were in the way, and that's why they have that caveat of you still need to have your hands on the steering wheel. You need to be paying attention. So if your car is driving itself and you crash and you're in the driver's seat, technically responsible for the car if you didn't make any evasive maneuvers.
But they are legal in California.
Yeah, they still want, you're still in charge of the car, so like if you're sleeping and you're having a Tesla driving and it crashes, it's still gonna be on you. So eventually it might change, but right now you're still the driver.
Do you have any hints on night driving with these new LED lights lighting it up?
Yeah, so I didn't get to it in the presentation, but we basically, at the very beginning, I said kind of plan around your day. So if you're driving at night and it bothers you, try to do everything during the day and just avoid driving at night.
Yeah, but there's sometimes you gotta drive at night.
Right. So if you can, you try to take the shortest route there, or maybe plan a route where you're not hitting all of them. I know they're starting to change all the lights now, but if you can plan around it, or have somebody else drive your car, like have a friend that doesn't bother them, or you can take an Uber or a taxi. There's different other options if you don't feel safe driving at night.
I have the
Are
comment
the
on
yellow
it.
driving glasses defective?
I've never used yellow driving glasses.
Yeah, they're good.
So
They help. Lizzie, did you have a question?
Yes, do you think you could put a turn signal at Alamara Estates?
I can't put anything anywhere. You'd have to talk to the city or the county. You'd have to, so if it's in the city, you'd have to talk to the city council, and then they would talk to the city roads, and they would have to put that in. They would do a study, and then once they feel that it's needed, it's a process actually. Yeah.
Right?
I'd just like to express a word of caution. I live on a busy street corner with 4 stop signs. Also, it's close to a school. I see all the time a driver will come up to a stop sign. Bicycles are coming up or down the street. Don't assume that those bicycles, particularly the motorized ones, are going to stop, because so often they don't. So for senior drivers, I just suggest, you see bicycles coming, hold off. If they're gonna go through the signal, if they stop, fine. But I'm always concerned that there's going to be some major accidents.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. And earlier I was telling that story about all the bicyclists running all the stop signs. Yeah, we do see that quite a bit. And he brought up a point of, if you see a bicyclist coming or a motorized scooter, just stop for an extra couple seconds and see if they pass them.
Okay, let's wrap it up to get everybody out of here on time. Don't forget to fill out your surveys. On your surveys, write next month if you want the love and relationships or if you want we and me, and I'll decide at the last minute. Hang on, we've got to do drawings, so be sure to turn them in to me, and everybody that turns them in is entered into a drawing for a $50 gift card. Just as for those of you who are new here, just for showing up, I do drawings for $25 gift cards. I have 2 of them. To just say thank you for taking time out of your morning and coming to visit us. Officer, do you want to draw out your names from here?
Got it.
It's Margaret here, Margaret Casey. Betsy, you've got one, draw one more. She's not here either.
What are the odds?
You're doing a good job drawing. Patty Schmidt.
Oh!
Yay! So to get everybody out of here, let me find my gift cards here. Here we go. Same table. $25 gift card for you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you. A special thank you to Officer Gutierrez.